Funerals can be unsettling for children, and Adam was no exception. Yet his reaction upon seeing the casket was far from what anyone anticipated. His innocent voice echoed through the room, "Daddy is still alive." It was a sentence that sent shivers down everyone's spine, but no one dared to believe it. However, a curious police officer decided to investigate the claim, and what he found out was truly mind-blowing. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. The police officer in question was Officer Trent, an old friend of Adam's father. He and Adam's father had been friends since college and even stayed in touch after their lives parted ways. What Adam said made the hairs on his back stand up straight, but it also rang an alarm bell inside his mind. The death of Adam's father was a curious case. You see, Joseph, the deceased, didn't die of natural causes. In fact, almost nobody actually knew why or how he died. His wife, Rosalie, was the only one who had spoken to the coroner, but she remained tight-lipped. At the funeral, the casket was closed, and even Joseph's mother was told she wouldn't be able to see her son one last time. It was all a bit suspicious, softly said. So after the funeral, Officer Trent arranged a court order to be able to look into Joseph's death certificate. When he arrived at the coroner's office, the order in his hand, he saw an uneasy look on the coroner's face. "This looks really bad, but I can't find the death certificate," the coroner awkwardly said. Officer Trent couldn't believe what he was hearing, but he couldn't do much about it either. So he headed over to Rosalie's home to talk to Adam. He had to know why the little boy had said something so bold. Arriving at Rosalie's house, she was surprised to see Officer Trent at her door, which was understandable because who likes to find an officer on their doorstep? "May I speak with Adam?" Officer Trent kindly asked, noticing Adam standing behind his mother. Rosalie was a bit hesitant, so Officer Trent tried to make the situation lighter. "It's nothing big, just a question for the brave boy," he said as he made eye contact with Adam. Finally, the boy stepped forward, wanting to help the officer. "Just one question, though," Rosalie whispered with determined eyes. "Adam, why did you say that your daddy is still alive the other day?" Officer Trent patiently waited for the boy's response. Sounds then suddenly looked Officer Trent right in the eyes. "I saw him," Adam finally answered. Officer Trent wanted to ask, but Rosalie pulled her son back inside the house. "That's enough for today," she said, but something about her had changed. She seemed surprised and worried about her son's answer. Officer Trent had dealt with cases that involved kids before, so he knew this was not the time to push for a longer conversation. Instead, he gave Rosalie his card and told her to call if she or Adam thought of anything else that could be important for him to know about. As he walked up to his car, he looked behind him, but the front door of the house was already closed. Something told him there was more to this story, but it was difficult that the only witness he had was a child. That night, Officer Trent sat at his dining room table, overwhelmed by the mystery surrounding Joseph's death. With the death certificate missing and no concrete proof of Joseph's body being in the casket, Trent knew he needed more evidence to pursue the case. Frustrated, he went to bed, realizing a warrant was unattainable without stronger justification. The following morning, Trent arrived at Rosalie's house, determined to uncover the truth. Her initial reluctance to let him in raised his suspicions, but after some insistence, she allowed him inside. Once seated, Trent confronted her about the missing death certificate. Rosalie, unsurprised, admitted that nothing had seemed right since Joseph's passing. Her tone suggested she knew more than she was willing to share. When Trent brought up Adam's claims of seeing his father, Rosalie hesitated. She acknowledged Adam's vivid imagination, but admitted she sometimes doubted whether his stories were pure fantasy. Encouraged by her wavering resolve, Trent pressed for more details. Rosalie reluctantly revealed that Joseph had died during an intimate moment, explaining her discomfort with the open casket at the funeral. This revelation deepened the mystery, adding emotional complexity to her guarded behavior. Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden knock at the door. As Rosalie opened it, Adam burst in, eager to share something important. "I saw him, officer, I really did," Adam insisted. He described seeing his father near the old playground by their house. and later at the mall the day before the funeral. Trent noted every detail, weighing the possibility of Adam's accounts being true against the likelihood of them being a child's hopeful imagination. The next day, Trent decided to investigate the mall. Walking through the bustling crowds, he spotted a man with a striking resemblance to Joseph. The same build, the same gait. It was uncanny. Trent's heart raced as he followed the man, trying to confirm his suspicions. Could it really be Joseph, or was this just a coincidence? The case took on new urgency as Trent realized that this sighting might hold the key to unraveling the truth behind Joseph's mysterious death. Officer Trent followed the mysterious man through the mall, noting every detail, his stops at a bookstore and coffee shop, and eventually an unexpected visit to a lingerie store, an unusual departure from Joseph's known habits. The man's behavior raised Trent's suspicions further, and he discreetly tailed him as he left the mall. The pursuit led to a quiet residential area where the man entered a modest house. From his car, Trent observed and documented the man's actions, taking detailed notes about the house and its surroundings. The oddity of the situation and the man's nervous demeanor convinced Trent that this lead was significant. He prepared to escalate the investigation, knowing it was no longer just about a child's claims, but a critical piece in the mystery of Joseph's death. Armed with his camera, Trent captured clear photos of the man entering the house and moving inside, hoping the evidence would support his next move. Back at the police station, he presented the photos to a judge, along with Adam's statements and the suspicious circumstances surrounding Joseph's death. The judge, swayed by the evidence, granted a warrant to exhume Joseph's body. For Trent, this was a breakthrough, an opportunity to finally uncover the truth. At the cemetery, Trent, accompanied by a team, prepared to execute the warrant. The scene was somber, the machinery stark against the peaceful backdrop of tombstones. As the team began, Rosalie appeared, visibly distressed. She pleaded with Trent to stop, calling the act a disturbance to Joseph's peace and insisting that everything about his death had already been disclosed. Her protests were emotional and fervent, but Trent, maintaining his resolve, explained that unanswered questions required investigation. Despite her opposition, Trent stood firm, knowing the stakes were too high to turn back. The exhumation, now inevitable, would bring either closure or a shocking revelation, and Trent braced himself for what the next moments would reveal. Armed with the judge's approval, he was now one step closer to unraveling the mystery of Joseph's death and what might lie beneath the surface at the cemetery. Officer Trent arrived at the cemetery, warrant in hand, accompanied by a team equipped with an excavator. As the team set up, Rosalie appeared, her face etched with distress. "You can't do this," she pleaded, her voice trembling. In an effort to counter Rosalie's protests, Trent showed her the photographs he had taken of the man at the mall. Her hands trembled as she examined them, her face paling as the striking resemblance to Joseph became apparent. The images piqued her curiosity despite her initial resistance. She demanded answers, pressing Trent for details about the man in the photographs. Trent, maintaining the confidentiality of the investigation, explained that he couldn't disclose much without jeopardizing the case. Rosalie proposed an alternative: confront the man before disturbing Joseph's grave. Her suggestion seemed reasonable, and Trent agreed, deciding to delay the exhumation to gather more information directly from the man. With this plan in mind, he left the cemetery and headed toward the man's residence, determined to uncover the truth. Upon reaching the house, Trent knocked firmly on the door, his badge visible as a sign of authority. The quiet neighborhood amplified the sound of his knock, heightening the tension. The door opened to reveal a man named Alex, his expression puzzled as he looked at Trent. Introducing himself professionally, Trent asked for a moment of Alex's time. Once inside, Trent wasted no time and directly asked, "Are you Joseph?" Alex's confusion deepened, his brow furrowing as he responded, "Joseph? I don't know anyone by that name," he replied, his tone a mix of confusion and mild irritation. Trent studied Alex's reaction carefully, looking for any sign of dishonesty. Unconvinced, Trent decided to push further. He insisted that Alex accompany him to the police station to clear up some inconsistencies. Alex stiffened. his surprise evident. "On what grounds?" he questioned, his voice defensive. The tension between them grew as Trent stood firm, determined to get to the bottom of the mystery surrounding Joseph's death. Despite Alex's protests and confusion, Officer Trent remained resolute. Producing the necessary paperwork, he arrested Alex, explaining that further questioning was needed to resolve the situation. When Alex tried to retreat, Trent acted swiftly, handcuffing him and escorting him to the police station. In the interrogation room, Alex, maintaining his innocence, expressed confusion about the accusations. When presented with photographs of Joseph, he denied any familiarity. "I don't know this man," Alex insisted repeatedly, his denial unwavering. Frustrated by the lack of progress, Trent proposed a DNA test as a definitive way to confirm Alex's identity. Though wary, Alex agreed, understanding this was the only way to clear his name. The situation took an emotional turn when Rosalie burst into the room, tears streaming down her face. Overwhelmed, she collapsed into Alex's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Alex, visibly startled, awkwardly comforted her, asking, "Do I know you?" His genuine confusion only deepened the mystery. Trent observed silently, noting the unexpected emotional intensity. The DNA results provided clarity. Alex was not Joseph, but his twin, separated at birth. The revelation stunned everyone, particularly Alex, who had believed he was an only child. As Trent laid out the evidence, Alex's pale face reflected his disbelief. Rosalie, meanwhile, recalled a crucial detail. Joseph was adopted. His parents once mentioned they thought he might have had a sibling. Her words revealed the brothers had been separated as infants, unknowingly leading vastly different lives. The room fell into stunned silence as the weight of the revelation sank in. Alex leaned back, grappling with the sudden truth of having a twin. The discovery brought both closure and new questions, reshaping the mystery surrounding Joseph and leaving all involved to process the implications. Officer Trent took diligent notes on the new developments. The confirmation of the twin relationship added a significant piece to the puzzle of Joseph's mysterious life and death. He documented each detail, aware that this connection between Alex and Joseph would partly close the case, but also open new avenues for understanding the complexities surrounding Joseph's disappearance and the events leading to his death. With the twin mystery resolved, everyone's perception of the events leading up to Joseph's funeral began to shift. The pieces of the puzzle were coming together, forming a clearer picture of two lives inadvertently intertwined, yet distinctly separate. Rosalie, Alex, and even Trent felt the weight of this discovery, realizing how deeply the secrets of the past had affected their present. With the twin mystery finally resolved, the decision was made to leave Joseph's grave undisturbed. This resolution brought a solemn but respectful peace to those involved, particularly Rosalie, who felt that the serenity of Joseph's final resting place should remain intact. In the weeks that followed, Rosalie and Alex maintained regular contact, exploring the strange new connection that had thrust them into each other's lives. Their conversations, initially awkward and hesitant, gradually became more fluid and open. They shared stories of Joseph, Rosalie providing the history and memories, while Alex absorbed every detail, eager to connect with the brother he never knew he had. The day Alex met his nephew Adam was filled with cautious anticipation. Adam, curious yet shy, showed Alex his collection of model airplanes, and it wasn't long before they found common ground. Alex's knowledge of aircraft mechanics from his years in engineering fascinated Adam, bridging the gap between them. Their shared interests laid the foundation for a budding relationship, turning initial confusion into a genuine family connection. As months passed, Alex became a regular fixture in Rosalie and Adam's lives. The community watched, sometimes skeptical but mostly supportive, as Alex integrated into the family with surprising ease. The case officially closed, leaving behind a legacy of a newfound family bond that left the local community in awe. The story of Joseph, Alex, and their reunion rippled through conversations, a reminder of the unpredictable and intertwined paths of life. The mystery was solved not with more loss, but with the gain of family.